There was a man who had every reason to give up. Life had beaten him down, one storm after another. His dreams were fading, his strength was running out, and fear had quietly settled into his heart. Yet, at that breaking point, he made a choice, one that would change everything. He chose faith over fear. It all started on a cold morning when Daniel sat alone in his small apartment, staring at the bills piled up on his table. His job was gone, his savings nearly finished, and the silence in the room was deafening. Fear whispered in his ear, telling him it was over, that he had failed, that there was no way out. But somewhere deep inside, a faint voice told him otherwise. It wasn't loud, it wasn't clear, but it was enough to make him pause. Maybe, just maybe, there was still a reason to hold on. He remembered his father's words from years ago, when fear knocks, let faith answer the door. Those words used to sound poetic, but now, in this moment, they became his lifeline. Daniel took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and prayed not for money, not for success, but for strength. He asked for the courage to keep going, even when everything around him told him to stop. The next morning, he decided to step out. It wasn't easy. Every step outside felt like walking into uncertainty. But he started small. He printed resumes, visited offices, spoke to people, and kept moving. Each rejection stung, yet each no became a test of his belief. Every night, he would come home exhausted, yet strangely at peace, because this time, he wasn't moving out of desperation. He was moving out of faith. Days turned into weeks, and just when it seemed like nothing was changing, something unexpected happened. One afternoon, as Daniel was returning home, he saw a help wanted sign in a small community center. It wasn't the kind of job he had dreamed of. It was a volunteer position. Still, something inside nudged him to go in. He introduced himself to the manager, explained his situation honestly, and offered to help in any way he could. That simple act changed the course of his life. Within days, Daniel began volunteering at the center, helping organize food drives and community programs. The work didn't pay, but it gave him something far greater purpose. He met people who were struggling like him, people who had lost everything, yet still smiled through their pain. Their stories humbled him, their strength inspired him, and slowly, without realizing it, Daniel began to heal. One evening, after finishing his shift, the manager approached him and said, "You've been doing incredible work. I can see your heart in everything you do. Would you consider joining us full-time? We've just received funding for a paid position." Daniel stood there, speechless. He had walked into that building with nothing but faith, and now faith had led him exactly where he needed to be. As months passed, Daniel didn't just rebuild his life, he transformed it. He went from being the one who needed help to being the one who offered it. His story began to spread across the community. People started saying, "He's the man who chose faith over fear." And that title, simple as it sounded, became his legacy. But Daniel's journey wasn't about miracles falling from the sky. It was about what happens when you stop letting fear control your steps. Fear tells you what's impossible. Faith shows you what's worth trying. Fear locks you inside your pain. Faith pushes you through it. One day, a young man approached Daniel and asked, "How did you do it? How did you not give up when things got so bad?" Daniel smiled and said, "Because I realized fear feeds on what you focus on. When I focused on my problems, fear grew stronger. But when I focused on what I could do, no matter how small, faith started to grow instead." That's the truth most people miss. Faith isn't about knowing how everything will work out. It's about trusting that somehow it will. It's choosing to take one more step, to send one more email, to believe one more time, even when your heart is tired. Faith doesn't promise comfort, but it promises direction. And sometimes that's all you need to keep moving. As Daniel looked back at his journey, he realized that fear had always been loud, but faith had always been steady. Fear screams in your ear, but faith whispers in your soul. And if you listen closely, that whisper can move mountains. So, if you re-listening right now and life feels uncertain, if you re-standing at a crossroads where fear tells you to stop, remember Daniel's story. Remember that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to walk forward despite it. Whatever you're facing, loss, doubt, rejection, don't let fear decide your fate. Take one small step in faith. That step might not change everything today, but it will change you. And once you change, everything else begins to follow. In the end, Daniel's story reminds us that faith is not about religion or miracles. It's about resilience. It's about believing that even in your darkest hour, light still exists, and that light lives within you. So the next time fear whispers, "What if you fail?" let faith respond, "What if I fly?" Because every great story begins with that one brave choice to believe when no one else does. If this story moved you, let it be a reminder to keep faith alive in your own journey. You never know who's watching, who might find strength through your story. Share this video with someone who needs hope today. Leave a comment below if you've ever faced fear and found your way through faith. And don't forget to subscribe, because sometimes all it takes is one story to remind you you're stronger than your fears, and your faith can take you further than you ever imagined. Soft background music fades as the screen closes on the words, "Choose faith over fear."